Ever catch yourself staring up at the night sky, completely floored by those twinkling stars?
hmm
And you start to wonder what's beyond all that.
It's a question that's really captured humans for as long as we've, I guess, had our eyes on the skies. It's this cool mix of scientific curiosity and then also just this deep wonder about where we fit in the grand scheme of everything.
That's true. Speaking of captivated, we found this Reddit thread that really dives into this.
hmm
Someone posted a drawing. It's super simple, kind of charming. Actually, they were trying to understand this whole universe expanding thing.
Oh, yeah.
And they were stuck on the idea of if the Big Bang was the beginning, did that mean somewhere out there had to be an end?
Makes sense, right? It's a pretty common misunderstanding that there's an edge to the universe. Like it's this thing, this object with a boundary.
So not like we're going to hit a cosmic wall or something. Because this person was asking, what would happen if you could reach the edge? Would you find just emptiness? Another universe. I mean, even just thinking about it is kind of terrifying and exhilarating at the same time.
It really is wild to think about. To try to wrap our brains around it a bit more, we got to get this idea of the observable universe. So the universe is roughly 13.8 billion years old,
Roughly.
give or take. And we can only see as far as the light has traveled to us since, well, the Big Bang.
Oh, okay. So we're seeing the universe as it was billions of years ago, not as it is right now
Oh,
necessarily.
you got it. And here's the real brain melter. Space itself is expanding. So the observable universe is actually way bigger than a sphere with just a 13.8 billion light year radius, which you'd think, right?
Yeah. No, I'm with you. So how much bigger are we talking? Like, give me a picture, a sense of scale.
Okay, so picture this. You've got a balloon, right? And on that balloon, you put a bunch of dots. Now, as you blow up the balloon, those dots are going to move farther and farther apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though the dots themselves aren't moving across the balloon's surface, the space between them is growing.
Okay. Okay. I think I'm starting to see where you're going with this. So the universe is like the balloon,
Yeah.
constantly expanding, and we're stuck on our little dot, only able to see so far.
Exactly. That's a great way to think about it. And the current estimate for the radius of the observable universe, get this, is closer to 46.5 billion light years. And that's just what we can observe.
Wow. Okay. That's a mind-boggling amount of space. No wonder this whole Reddit thread was blowing up. Some people were joking that you'd run into that ice wall, like in Game of Thrones at the edge.
It's funny, right? Humor can be such a good way to make these really complex, immense concepts a little less intimidating.
Totally. And speaking of maybe not having it exactly right, there was even a comment about the universe being flat.
Yeah, the flat earther of space, right?
Exactly. Although, I have to admit, the whole flat universe thing always messes with my head a little. It makes me think of, like, a giant cosmic pancake, you know?
I get it. It's not the most intuitive term. But when we talk about flat in cosmology, we're talking about the universe's geometry. It's not flat like a pancake, but it means it extends infinitely in every direction without curving in on itself like, say, a sphere would.
Okay, that makes way more sense. So no looping back around to the start.
Not according to what we understand right now. And that brings us right back to the big question in that Reddit thread, which is, what's beyond the observable universe? There are three main ideas that people keep coming back to. So, idea number one, the empty void.
Empty void, all right? Like, just nothing there.
Yeah. It's like imagine the universe, right, as this bubble that keeps growing, expanding outwards from the Big Bang. And outside that expansion, outside where those particles from the very beginning have reached, just emptiness, a total void.
So, like stepping off the edge of the map, but instead of dragons, you just kind of drift into nothing?
Okay, that's both creepy and kind of cool. So
No.
what's next? Does the next theory give us something a little less non-existent to bump up against? Well, if you're looking for something a bit more solid, you've got the solid barrier theory. This one says, nope, there really is a physical edge to the universe. Now, what that barrier would actually be made of, that's up for grabs.
Okay, so like a cosmic wall. Now we're getting into some sci-fi territory.
Hmm.
Like, is there a force field, a big do not enter sign?
It is fun to imagine. But in all seriousness, a solid barrier, it's possible, but it's not really the most popular idea among scientists these days.
All right, so I'm guessing the last option is where things get a little really out there.
If you want to talk about mind-blowing, it's hard to top the infinite multiverse theory. This one's saying our Big Bang, the one that created our universe, that wasn't a one-time thing. It's saying there were tons of Big Bangs, maybe even countless Big Bangs, all happening in this never-ending space.
Hold on. Multiple Big Bangs. So are we talking about other universes out there, each with its own set of, like, rules, its own history? That's what you're saying.
You got it. Each universe could have different laws of physics, different fundamental constants, maybe even different dimensions. Some might be teeming with life like we've never imagined it, and others might be totally harsh and impossible to live in.
That is a lot to process, even just thinking about more than one universe existing at the same time. It makes me wonder, could those universes ever, I don't know, bump into each other? Could we ever cross over?
Now you're getting into some next level speculation. But as wild as these theories are, there's something I kept seeing in that Reddit thread, and it's a big part of how science works.
What's that?
We just don't know. Not yet, anyway.
That's true. With all our amazing telescopes and everything, it's kind of humbling to admit there's still so much we haven't figured out.
Absolutely. I think that's part of what's so exciting about science. We keep asking questions, keep trying to find the edges of what we know. And sometimes we get these little peeks beyond the edge of what we thought was possible.
So even if we can't actually physically travel past the observable universe, and let's be real, that's probably a long way off.
Yeah, probably a bit beyond us at this point.
Right. But are there ways we can, like, peek behind the curtain? Are there clues hidden in what we can see?
There might be. It's kind of wild when you think about what we're learning in physics.
All right, lay it on me. What clues?
So people kept bringing up quantum entanglement in that thread. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah, I think so. It's where you've got, like, two particles and they're linked somehow. Yeah.
Even if they're like light years apart, you mess with one and the other one feels it instantly.
Exactly. It's like they can't decide if they're one thing or two, even across these huge distances.
Right. It's like spooky action or something. I remember that from a documentary.
Totally. And so this is where it gets really theoretical. But some physicists think, what if particles in our observable universe, right? What if they got entangled with particles that are, long gone, way beyond that edge we can see?
Okay. And because they're entangled, even if that other particle is way out there, we could learn something about what's beyond the curtain by watching the one we can see.
That's the idea. Like, imagine you've got this rope and it stretches out beyond the horizon past where you can see. If you tug on your end, you know something's connected, right?
Mm.
Yeah, I get it. But I'm guessing it's not as easy as sending, like, Morse code across the universe using entangled particles, is it?
Not quite. Even if we could prove that kind of entanglement was happening, just figuring out what the signals mean, that'd be crazy difficult.
Right, like these particles didn't come with a user manual, unfortunately.
No, nope. But you know what else they talked about in that thread that's pretty exciting? Gravitational waves.
Oh, yeah. Those ripples, like the fabric of space itself, don't those happen when huge things collide, like black holes?
That's them.
Hmm.
And someone in the thread brought up this idea that gravitational waves, they might be able to give us this look beyond the observable universe that we couldn't get any other way.
How would that even work?
Oh,
I'm drawing a blank.
okay, so light from the very, very early universe, right after the Big Bang, it gets scattered, like there's this fog it has to travel through. That's why we can only see back in time so far with telescopes, because the light gets muddled up.
So it's like trying to look through a wall of fog. You can't see what's on the other side.
Perfect analogy. But gravitational waves, they don't care about that fog. They just kind of go through it, no problem.
Oh, okay. So they're like a signal that can make it through when nothing else can, from the very beginning of the universe.
That's the hope. Now, of course, we're still figuring all this out. Entanglement, gravitational waves, both way beyond where we were just a few years ago even.
Right, science marches on. But isn't it amazing to think about that we could be this close to seeing things no one's ever seen before?
It really is. And reading through all that, it got me thinking, it's so easy to feel small when you talk about space being infinite, right?
Yeah, for sure. You
Yeah.
get those existential moments staring up at the stars, feeling like a little speck of dust.
Totally. But what if it's the opposite? What if the fact that we're here on this little planet and we can even ask these questions about stuff so much bigger than us? What if that is proof of how incredible things really are?
I like where you're going with this.
It's like Carl Sagan said, right? Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known. Maybe we're that something incredible.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. So to everyone listening, next time you're out there looking up at the night, don't just wonder what's out there. Remember that the universe is still being written, and so are you. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. It's been amazing. And like always, keep looking up.